Hi traders, welcome to the recap of my trades for Friday, June the 14th. And overall today, really quite a good day in the markets. I managed to have, 4 wins here, 2 losses, and 8 points total that I made. So, overall, very, very solid day. Really, this last 2 weeks have been fantastic in the markets. A lot of potential. And kind of makes up for some of those times not so long ago, even just a couple months ago, where we had some really slow markets, really sideways markets. And that's an important part of trading, is understanding that not all the time do you have fantastic markets that are moving really well, that are really volatile. But when you do have them, you definitely want to try to take advantage. There's going to be sometimes, some weeks where the profit potential is, fairly minimal, just because the markets are not really moving all that well. And there's going to be other weeks where you can just absolutely kill it. So important to understand, having that kind of broader perspective, that longer term perspective, rather than just focusing on, every hour, every day of your trading, understanding that what really matters is consistency over the course of weeks and months, and being able to do it repeatedly, day after day, building into week after week. And that's what really gives you that consistency to to do this for a living. So we'll just kind of go through some of the trades here. Overall, a nice start after we had a little bit of sideways action. It was a little bit unusual because more often than not, in that first 5 minutes of the market, you do see a little bit of short-term momentum. In here, we really didn't see any. We just kind of tightened up. And so I wasn't very interested in taking anything in there, any sort of scalps or anything like that. Much more interested in trades that offer a better risk reward and also that have some momentum behind them, to increase the win percentage, because that's what really matters in trading. It's all about expectancy. It's all about a combination of a good win percentage and a good risk reward, so that you can have a nice positive expectancy and really reduce those drawdowns that you could potentially have over time. So nothing in here, but then a very nice trade after this nice move to the upside, and one where I looked for a little bit more profit just because of the way it initially reacted. Very nice reaction, heading right up into very clear area here. Obviously there was some more profit that could have been made on that trade, but it's not really the type of case where I want to be greedy, even with that high momentum, just being the first real movement of the day and also hitting a pretty key area in there. So I was more than happy just to take my profit off the table with the 3.5 points there. From there, took this trade here, and actually I was kind of aggressive on it. Most traders who maybe weren't quite as aggressive as me, they would have been able to get out of this trade with a much smaller loss, just because of the way that the market reacted. The slowdown in momentum would have been able to get themselves out of that position with just losing a couple ticks instead of the full 5 ticks that I ended up taking on that trade. But sometimes that happens. If you try to be a little bit more aggressive, if you're that type of trader, occasionally it's going to bite you a little bit, and that's what it did here. And but other times it is going to pay off for you. So it is kind of a balance, and you need to find what your style is, what you're comfortable with, and if you're trading within that comfort zone, the results will follow from that. So for me in this case, being a bit aggressive, it ended up getting me here for a full loss. But then I was a little bit aggressive here as well once we had turned down the other way, and managed to get myself filled and got myself a 2.5 point trade, which more than made up for this full loss here. This one, a little bit disappointing, because originally I was looking for a target down in here and just didn't get that. It held up in here. You can see I got out after it was holding in there for a little bit. And I was expecting a little bit deeper pullback as well, which I didn't get. So I missed basically this huge chunk of the move, which would have been fantastic, where I could have had a really, really good runner. But, you can't catch every single move. You can't catch every single point. Sometimes if you're following a plan, if you're following, a structured rule set, there are going to be cases where you just don't get into the market, and it's not something where you want to get really upset. You don't want to get emotional. You continue to follow your plan. You just keep trading and keep doing what you do, and it'll work out. So I did take another trade here, knowing this was very aggressive based on the situation that we had, basically following my rules here to get myself out of that position with just a very small loss when it didn't instantly go to the downside, basically. And then a very advanced trade in here, something that we do have in our curriculum, something that we're implementing a little bit more for some of our more experienced traders, and definitely by the rules for the type of trade that we're looking for off this area. And a very nice one. And again, I was looking to get into these lows. I was perhaps a little bit greedy, but as soon as the price stalled in here, I basically just got out, because it was one that, based on the way this price action was working, it was fairly risky trying to hold just for these lows. And from there, it was a lot of just moving back and forth until we finally had another decent trading situation. And it's really important to understand that we not only need to look at the short term, but we need to look at the medium and the long term as well. Because if we get too narrow a focus and we start to zoom in too close to what the price is doing in the very short term, we're going to get ourselves into bad positions, into positions that are against the general order flow of the market. So really important here in terms of long positions that we didn't really take any without having some really good evidence behind us. And there just wasn't anything that really fit our rules that was compelling evidence to be taking any sort of longs in here. And so just looking for shorts. And finally, after a little bit of chop in here, I did take one last trade, which ended up just being a scalp. That was one that I will fully admit is not really by the rules of what we do. Everything else was, but this one here was just something extra because I was making a trade based on some of the short-term price action in here, but definitely a riskier situation, not something I really recommend for beginner traders. So overall, like I said, pretty good day. 8 points, 7 points. If we avoid this, we don't take this trade here that doesn't really fit the rules. But yeah, overall, quite an excellent way to end the week and what was a fairly sluggish Friday. So hopefully the volatility continues, because it was excellent overall. And well, for the week, for the last couple weeks. So hopefully that continues next week as well. Gives a lot of opportunity to all ES traders, not just those at Samurai Trading Academy, but many of you who are just interested in the way that we trade, who trade yourself. Hopefully you have some excellent opportunities coming up in the weeks ahead. All right, thanks guys.